Welcome. Welcome to the next very basic Bible. Me and my black jacket here, sitting with the triangle. But we're going to do 10-minute quick read of the split of Israel. The northern kingdom was still called Israel. They called the southern kingdom Judah. We're reading until this northern kingdom is exiled. 10 minutes at a time. Okay, guys, here we go. We stopped mid story last time. Elisha goes to see this woman in Shunem. Elisha says, "Hey, you've been good to me. Built me a little place to stay. Give me food. What do you want from me?" Okay, here we go. So verse 4, 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 14. So Elisha asked, "Then what should be done for her?" Gehazi answered, "Well," Gehazi is Elisha's servant. "Well, she has no son, and her husband is old." "Call her," Elisha said. So Gehazi called her, and she stood in the doorway. Elisha said, "At this time next year, you will have a son in your arms." Then she said, "No, my lord, man of God, do not lie to your servant." The woman conceived and gave birth to a son at the same time the following year as Elisha had promised her. Pretty sweet. Nothing's too hard for God. The child grew and one day went out to his father and the harvesters. Oh, good. Suddenly he complained to his father, my head, my head." His father told his servant, "Carry him to his mother." So he picked him up and took the boy to his mother. The child sat on her lap until noon and then died. She went up and laid the child on the bed of the man of God, shut him in, and left. This is a child that Elisha had promised you will have. And then she had miraculously. This child would when the husband dies, will take, if he dies first, will take care of the widow, his mother. He will carry on the family name. Now he's dead. The Shunammite summoned her husband and said, "Please send me one of the servants and one of the donkeys so I can hurry to the man of God and come back again." But the husband said, "Why go to him today? It's not a new moon or a Sabbath." She replied, "It's all right." Evidently, maybe he doesn't know his son is dead. Then she saddled the donkey and said to her servant, "Go fast. Don't slow your pace for me unless I tell you." So she came to the man of God at Mount Carmel. When the man of God saw her at a distance, he said to his attendant, "Look, there's the Shunammite woman. Run out to meet her and ask, 'Are you all right? Is your husband all right? Is your son all right?'" And she answered, sorry guys, "It's all right," to the servants. When she came up to the man of God at the mountain, however, but she came to the man of God. So she clung to his feet. Gehazi came to push her away, but the man of God said, "Leave her alone. She is in severe anguish, and the Lord has hidden it from me. He hasn't told me." Then she said, "Did I ask my Lord for a son?" She didn't. "Did I say, 'Do not lie to me'?" She said, Don't give me a son. I'm too old." So Elisha said to Gehazi, "Tuck your mantle under your belt. Take my staff with you and go. If you meet anyone, don't stop to greet him. And if a man greets you, don't answer him. Then place my staff on the boy's face." The boy's mother said to Elisha, "As the Lord lives and as you yourself live, I will not leave you." So he got up and followed her. I guess he was going to stay behind and let Gehazi kill the boy, but she said, "No, I'm not going back to my boy without you, Elisha." Okay, so he got up and went with her. Gehazi went ahead of them and placed his staff on the boy's face, but there was no sound or sign of life. So he went back to meet Elisha and told him the boy didn't wake up. When Elisha got to the house, he discovered the boy lying on his bed. So he went in, closed the door behind the two of them, and prayed to the Lord. Elijah did a similar thing, remember? Yeah. Then he went on the boy and laid on the boy. He put mouth to mouth, eye to eye, hand to hand. That's kind of a strange way to say it. While he bent down over him, the boy's flesh became warm. Okay. Elisha got up, went into the house, and paced back and forth. Then he went back up and bent down over him again. The boy sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. The sneeze of life. Elisha called Gehazi and said, "Call the Shunammite woman." He called her and she came. Then Elisha said, "Pick up your son." She came, fell at his feet, and bowed to the ground. She picked up her son and left. I just noticed something. There's a lot of people that send their servant to do this, send their servant to do that, or they go to this place with their servant. They go there with their servant. Okay, I guess a servant, we think, oh no, servant's bad. Back then, I'm thinking a servant was a good thing. People probably didn't mind being servants. They got free meals, free houses. In fact, every 7 years, according to the law of Israel, servants were allowed to go free, but you could stay if you wanted with your master, quote unquote master. I feel like, hey, I've got it good. I bet Gehazi would stay with Elisha. He's a man of God. All right, back to the story. That piece of advice was free. Okay, here we go. When Elisha returned to Gilgal, there was a famine in the land. The sons of the prophets were sitting before him. He said to his attendant, put on the large, is that Gehazi? I don't know. Put on the large pot and make stew for the sons of the prophets. One went out to the field to gather herbs and found a wild vine from which he gathered as many wild gourds as his garment would hold. Then he came back and cut them up into the pot of stew, but they were unaware of what they were. Okay. They served some for the men to eat, but when they ate the stew, they cried out, there's death in the pot, man of God, and they were unable to eat it. Oh, I guess that wild gourd was poisonous. Oh, look at, from which he picked a sack full of poisonous wild gourds. Okay. The NABRE tells us they're poisonous gourds. Okay. Then Elisha said, get some flour. He threw the flour into the pot and said, serve it for the people to eat. And there was nothing bad in the pot. Pretty cool. A man from Baal Shalisha came to the man of God with his sack full of 20 loaves of barley bread from the first bread of the harvest. Elisha said, give it to the people to eat. But Elisha's attendant said, what? Am I to set this before 100 men? Look, sack full of 20 loaves. 100 men. These are probably full-grown men. They're probably hungry. Give it to the people to eat, Elisha said, for this is what the Lord says. They will eat and they will have some left over. So he set it before them, and as the Lord had promised, they ate and had some left over. Like, dude, he's a prophet. You've seen him do other stuff, I think. Maybe he's got a different attendant every time. I don't know. All right. Naaman, commander of the army for the king of Aram. King of Aram. Moab, Aram. These people are bad news. Usually Edom is. Naaman, commander of the army for the king of Aram, was a man important to his master and highly regarded because through him, through Naaman, the Lord had given victory to Aram. Wait, God gave victory to one of Israel's enemies through a leprous man. God works in mysterious ways. The man was a valiant warrior. Oh, but he had a skin disease. I'm sorry. There's the leprous part. He was a leper. Leper, the term traditionally translated leper, and leprosy covered a wide variety of skin disorder. Okay. He had a skin disease. Aram had gone on raids and brought back from the land of Israel a young girl who served Naaman's wife. God gave victory to Naaman, even though Naaman did raids on Israel. Maybe the Lord is punishing Israel. That makes sense. Okay. So a young girl who served Naaman's wife, the young girl said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his skin disease. So Naaman went and told his master what the girl from the land of Israel has said. Wait, Naaman has a master? Naaman's the commander of an army. Naaman went and told his master. Okay, so the word master isn't always used as like, I'm your master, you're my slave, you do whatever I say. He's the Lord. He's in charge of Naaman. He's Naaman's commander. Naaman is an army, probably the sergeant or the general of the army, something like that, All right. Therefore, the king of Aram, the king of Aram is Naaman's master. That makes sense. Therefore, the king of Aram said, go, and I will send a letter with you to the king of Israel. So Naaman went and took with him 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. Back then, clothing was like the real deal. Most people, they'd have one set of clothing their whole life. 10 sets of clothing, that was like That you were living on the high hog, man. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, and it read, "When this letter comes to you, note that I have sent you my servant for you to cure him of his skin disease." King of Israel. When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and asked, "Am I God, killing and giving life, that this man expects me to cure a man of his skin disease? Recognize that he is only picking a fight with me." The king thinks, "Oh, he sent this impossible task so that he would have it. You didn't finish the task? Well, then I'm going to come attack you." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Have Naaman come to me, and he will know there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. Then Elisha sent him a messenger, as usual, who said, "Go wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your skin will be restored, and you will be clean. Wash 7 times in the Jordan." But Naaman got angry and left, saying, "I was telling myself, he will surely come out. The man of God will surely come out. Stand and call on the name of the Lord his God. Wave his hand over the place and cure the skin disease." Like he's going to make a big show of it. And aren't Arbana and Parfar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be clean? So Naaman turned and left in a rage. Dude's kind of stuck up there. Okay, guys, I forgot to put my timer on. So instead of 10 minutes, we read for 10 and a half, 11, 12 minutes, not sure. But we'll come back and see what is resolved. Naaman, sulks and is sad and goes home. And then Aram says, "You didn't heal my servant." He comes and attacks Israel. Or does something else happen? We'll see on the next Very Basic Bible. But until then, don't forget, scroll down to the show notes. Look up all the verse by verse detailed teachings from the teachers and the scholars if you got any questions on anything we read. All right, guys, God bless.